Hi,
Food.
everyone. Yeah, hi, Tamika. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another segment of Hanging Out for a Living. Today's guest is someone who embodies compassion, service, and heart. Tamika Turner is the president and founder of Adopt a Grandparent. It's a nonprofit organization that brings love, joy, and human connection to older adults in nursing homes, especially those with little to no family. What began as a simple act of kindness through her Mary Kay business turned into a legacy of honoring a generation that paved the way for so many of us. Since 2014, Tamika has been making sure that seniors know that they are not forgotten, that they are seen, celebrated, and deeply valued. Tamika's work is a beautiful example of turning passion into purpose. Let's dive into her story. Welcome, Tamika.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm grateful to be here.
Oh, so glad you took time out of your busy day. I know how busy you are, so thank you again for coming on over
Not a
here.
problem.
So let's dive into our questions. What inspired you in that moment back in 2014 to take adopting a grandparent from an idea to an action? And how has that mission evolved since then?
Well, what turned that into a passion, so to speak, is that I was at a retirement community, and one of the girls who was in my Mary Kay team said to me that they didn't have the finances for Christmas stockings that year. And because I knew of that concept through Mary Kay about giving and doing things of service, I said, well, why don't we get them all adopted? Now, mind you, this was September of, 2014.
Sure.
And, you know, as you know, Christmas is around the corner. So getting that, I said, let's get them all adopted. She said, do you recognize that there's like at least 230 people here? I said, yeah, why not? And she's like, okay. So she took the mantle and said, who do you know? I pound the pavement of businesses in Greece. Didn't know anyone, didn't know any businesses in Greece. So actually, I was really green. And I really just went door to door, knocked on doors. This is what we're trying to do for a lot of the older adults at that senior community. And they said, you know what? They've supported our business. Let's support them. And that's how it got started. Once we celebrated all the older adults in that community that year, they were just so they were just so happy to have that happen that it was just like it just fueled a fire. Let's do this again next year.
I love it.
And we'll have more time this time because literally we didn't get started until October. So December is right around the corner and trying
Exactly.
to get everything in by the middle of the month before the holiday season.
Crazy. And for our reader or for our listeners and our viewers, when Tamika said Greece, she's talking about Greece, New York, not Greece
Yes.
like in the country, just so that
Thank
we're
you.
all clear.
Thank you. And to
So,
answer your second part of your question, where we are now and why it has continued to move forward is because just like you were talking about hanging for a living, I did life with my grandparents. And for me, we lived life together, did things with them, and enjoyed them. And now that they're gone, I wanted to feel that same compassion with other grandparents who may not have family to let them know the importance of relationship and building those bonds, and even with younger people and the next generation and building legacy. So that's something that really was close to my heart. So it's just like, okay, now let's go to another community. Let's go to another community. Let's bring that joy to other people.
sure, sure. And what a way to honor their legacy, right? And it just hanging out with our seniors is the absolute best, absolute best.
They have
So
awesome stories.
I bet. I bet you could even. Is there a book in the making here? I wonder.
I don't know, but I've gotten stories for days. And
I
just
bet.
to kind of give you a little tidbit, I remember like maybe a year or so ago, and I was just going to Panera Bread just to do some talking with my cousin about adopted grandparent. And one of this older couple and their daughter sat next to us. I mean, literally, the tables are really close in Panera.
They sure are.
And the daughter says, out of all these tables, why are you sitting right next to her? And I ended up talking to them and I saw them together and I said, well, I said, what brings you here? And we had a conversation, started talking. They were married over 70 something years.
Wow.
And yes, and it was just amazing. And I was asking them about their story and how they met. And right then and there, my cousin who was interviewing me about adopted grandparents says, now I see why you do what you do. Because just that interaction right then and there showed the very heart of why I do what I do.
It's a natural extension of your heart for sure. So,
Exactly.
so you're clearly someone who wears many hats. How do your different roles from social work to Mary Kay complement your heart for service and the work you do with Adopt a Grandparent?
Well, with the Mary Kay part of it is more so I was doing facials at the different older adult communities.
Okay,
So, and it's giving them joy that way of just saying how to take care of themselves and do self-care.
right.
So that kind of trickled and so that just giving them beauty products and allow them to put on a lipstick or smell nice or take care of their skin, just brighten up their mood. And knowing that someone cared about them to take the time to teach them or even just that small gesture of rubbing their hands and giving them a hand massage was something that just really awakened them and started conversations and building stories. So that's how my Mary Kay business gets trickled in. Social work is that's just who I am, of being able to connect older adults to resources, letting them know that they're cared about. And what does that look like beyond the immediate problems that you might or challenges you might be having?
Sure.
And then figure out how to thrive where you are and thrive in your community and thrive in your environment. And that was just something that's the social work part of it. So they all kind of mix and meld together. And then as I'm going out to meet, you know, leaders at the different organizations, I'm networking and bringing and becoming an advocate for our older adults about what are their needs? What do they want? How can they be celebrated in different ways? And that's how it kind of all works together.
I love it. That's awesome. That is awesome. It's almost like you've come full circle on everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, what are some, and I know you just shared a little bit earlier, but what are some of the most memorable reactions you've seen from seniors receiving their gifts? And what do those moments mean to you personally?
Well, one of the ones back when we first started, we went to one of the senior communities in Greece, New York. It's not the exact same one. It was a different one.
Okay.
And since then, they changed their name a couple of times. So we went out there and we gave them flowers that day with a nice stuffed animal and some chocolate. And once we went out there, yes, I know, right? Chocolate.
You had me a chocolate, okay.
And once we went there, we celebrated everyone. We didn't leave anyone out. And that's one thing that I love to do. Even though there are people who have family, I still give to them as well because you never know what a small gesture might mean to them.
Sure.
And one resident was with his family and he was like, "What is going on here?" And he was in a wheelchair at that time. And and he didn't seem like he was in the best of moods.
Oh,
So I asked him, can we give him a gift? His family said yes, and he was excited about that. I gave him a flower and I said, well, I won't disturb you since you're with your family. And we continue to give gifts to other residents that day. And when he comes down in his wheelchair, chases me down the hallway with the flower between his teeth, going, "Ole, ole!" And to see his reaction change from being melancholy to joy, absolutely joy in a couple of minutes, to know that that small gesture made that much of a difference in his life, it just pulled my heartstrings.
oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, that's the best. You just totally made my day with that story. And I'm sure also our viewers and listeners. So thank you for that. That's awesome.
Can I share two more?
Oh my God, please.
I
Absolutely.
have a couple different stories. Another one was when like I told you, my grandparents did pass away.
Hmm.
And I actually got an opportunity to go to the nursing home that my grandmother was in. And I went to the floor that she was on, and we adopted all the residents that day. And we went to the floor my grandmother was on, and I the employees remembered me. They remembered my grandmother. They remembered her heart. They remembered her compassion. They remembered how she would share so much love and her faith with so many people, and even her roommate that was there. Her roommate didn't have any family members, but her roommate was excited every time that we came in because she knew that we always showed joy and compassion to her as well. So being on that floor, being around the staff who remembered me and my grandmother, it was almost like this is the whole reason, the very heart, the very center of why I do what I do. It was bittersweet because yes, it made me miss my grandmother more, but also the love and compassion of the people there remembering us is bar none because sometimes to certain people you're a dime a dozen
Right.
and your name doesn't matter or you don't matter. But the fact that they remembered who we were, remember our character, even if they don't remember our name, but they remembered us, that means that we showed a lot of compassion. That means we made an imprint there.
Absolutely.
So, so that was that. And then Miss Anna, who was one of the ladies that we saw who remembered us, was inviting us to her social event to be her dates and have lunch, which was like, wow,
That is
it was
awesome.
so surreal. So she goes, "You adopted me, but I wanted to adopt you back." I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh,
that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing those beautiful stories. I'm sure I know they pulled at my heartstrings, and I'm sure it pulls on the heartstrings of everyone who's watching this or listening to this. And we're on to our last question. For someone listening who's moved by your story but doesn't know how to start giving back, what would you say is the first small step they can take to make a difference in their own community?"
One thing that they can do is show a bit of kindness. Think about yourself. How would you feel if you were in that person's situation and then do that for them? Because you never know, even just saying a hello, noticing that, that they maybe not in a good mood, but to say, you know what, I was thinking about you today, or compliment them.
Right.
That goes a long way just to start something. That's something that small can catapult to something bigger. Because once you start pouring into other people, and even if you get a no, or even if you get
Right.
they're going to remember that
Mhm.
because they're going to remember how you made them feel
Exactly. Exactly. And
and
I
it
know
resonates.
Angelo has a great quote around that, which I can't remember for the life of me, but it's something along the lines of, I don't know it verbatim, but people will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And that is
They'll
so
never forget how you made them feel.
never
Yes.
forget how you made them feel. Exactly. There you go. I knew you would help me along here.
That's
Thank
what
you.
friends do.
That's right. Thank you. And I'm so grateful you touched my life and so many countless others in the beautiful way that you do, Tamika. So, folks, Tamika's story reminds us that one small act of kindness can become a powerful movement of love and connection. If you were inspired by her journey or want to find out how you can get involved, be sure to check out her contact information in the description below and continue the conversation with Tamika. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps more people discover stories that lift, inspire, and remind us that one person really can make a difference. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you the next time. Thanks so much, Tamika. Bye for now,
Thank
everybody.
you.